Do you sometimes find it difficult to communicate with someone with ADHD? Between the distractibility, the rejection sensitivity, added to the fact that communication itself can already be difficult, it can add to the challenges. And sometimes with the distractibility, some people feel like it's almost like talking into a wall because you're communicating, but it's just not hitting. If that's your case, I might be able to help. Good morning, world. I am Judy, your web-based therapist, making therapy accessible and convenient for our clients in Florida and New York, and of course, sharing information worldwide. Today, I want to talk about 5 tips for communicating with people with ADHD. But before I get into it, I want to take a moment and say, if you are subscribed, thank you so much for being a part of our awesome world. If you're not yet subscribed, please click the subscribe button below so you can join all this awesomeness. And remember to tick the bell so you are notified when I post new videos so you don't miss anything. And of course, if you'd like to purchase 1 or 3 of my books, also a link below that will take you to a site that shows you all your different options of where you could get 1 or 3 of my books. All right, let's get back to it. The first thing you have to do is communicate in a timely manner. A lot of times, especially when it comes to difficult conversations, because of the challenges that people are expecting with having to communicate, they tend to put it off. They tend to delay. And what happens when you're delaying? Things are building up and frustration is building up and anxiety is building up, and you're getting to that point where you're in over your head when you've just had enough. And that's when it makes communication a lot harder. When you're frustrated, you're more likely to say and do hurtful things. And when the conversation is not going in a smooth, gentle way, you're more likely to cause the person to shut down, in which case they're hearing you even less than they normally would because you're activating that fight or flight response in the person. And they often tend to shut down. So when the person shut down, they're not getting it. They're not hearing you. You could say everything you want. You could do whatever you're doing, but it doesn't register. So make sure that you communicate in a timely manner. That way you have a better chance of your communication getting through. The second thing you need to do is speak when they can listen. With people with ADHD, especially if you have someone who is doing what they need to do to manage their ADHD, they have systems in place, they have schedules, and they have things going on. They have some structure because structure is what helps ADHD. So if you want to have a conversation and you want to make sure that your conversation hits, that they get what you want to say, it's important that you are doing it at a time when they are able and available to listen to you. This means that you don't just walk into someone's office and say, hey, I need to talk this and the other. It means more that you're going to set up a time. Maybe you're going to tell them ahead of time, hey, can we chat on such and such day? For some people, there are people who are like that, where if you tell me we need to talk, then now it's gonna be in my head, so we might as well talk now. There are people who are like that, and if you know that the person you're communicating with is that type of person, then what you may want to do instead is pick times when you know that they will be available, that they will be able to listen, and then bring up the, hey, I would like to talk to you. Do you have a moment? And you know they're going to say, yes, let's do it right now. But don't just barge in and demand like, hey, we need to talk now. Because if the person is already, if their brain is already focused on something else, it's very unlikely that they'll be able to just switch and now be able to give you their full attention because you are now demanding to talk. So work with their schedule, work with their system, find times when they are able to communicate and schedule it if possible, so that you can have conversation at a time that works. And of course, if you schedule it, it makes it easier for them to fit you in a time when they know that they're going to be ready to have the conversation with you. The third thing to do is to make requests, not demands. When you make demands, you automatically send that person into that retreat mode. You send that person in that almost a fight back type situation, a protective, defensive type of state. Whereas when you are making requests, you give the person has an option. The person has a sense of autonomy. The person is part of the conversation. You're not telling them what to do. You are engaging them in a conversation. You are engaging them in a decision. So instead of making demands, make sure that you're making requests, because even when you are dealing with children, get autonomy allows us to create that buy-in, and it causes people to be a lot more engaged and a lot more interested in whatever it is that we are asking of them. So make sure that you're making requests, not demands. The fourth thing is to allow space for distractibility, because you know that you are dealing with someone with ADHD and distractibility is a thing. So depending on what the situation is, making sure that you're reaching them at a time when they're more likely to have the space for you. That's part of me saying, when I said, make sure that you speak in a time that they are able to listen to you. The other part is to understand that distractibility is a part of ADHD, and that is a part of that person's life. So one of the things that you need to do is be succinct. I know I don't have the skills. The other thing you need to make sure that you do is allow time for the person to possibly get distracted and have the patience to, when something happened and they get off task, to bring them back without losing your temper, without losing your cool, without getting frustrated, because you know this is a part of their day, this is a part of their journey, this is a part of their life. So if you are engaging them, it's important that you're allowing space for that. So if something happens, they get off task, yes, find a way, talk to them, get them back into the conversation we're having. But make sure that you allow a little wiggle room for that, and that you don't lose your cool. You allow the space, you allow the time, and you allow the patience. And finally, build them up. Using the sandwich method is always a great way, especially when you're giving feedback, because when you have to share things that are not the most positive, not the thing they want to hear the most, sometimes it can cause a little bit of anxiety. It can cause shifts in the person's mood. It can impact them, especially that when you're dealing with ADHD, you may also be dealing with rejection sensitivity. So take note of that. So make sure that you build them up. If you have some feedback, some less than pleasant feedback to share, make sure you use that sandwich method and put in some positives before you jump into whatever it is that you need to share. And of course, before you leave them, build them up again with more positives, because one of the things that happens if you don't build them up, and whatever you have to say is something that brings them down, then you kind of ruin the person's whole day. And it's going to take a lot more time for them to process and their emotions and deal with all the feelings that are associated with what you just said, and then address what it is that you just said. Whereas if you can build them up, get them in a positive space, then you're more likely to have them be more ready to address whatever the concern is, because they don't have as much work to do on building themselves back up or picking themselves back up after you just took them down. So make sure that you build them up, provide that positive feedback, provide that positive support. Help them keep their emotions, and help them stay high. All right, let's do a quick recap. The first thing is to make sure that you communicate in a timely manner. Don't wait until things build up, because if things build up, you're less likely to be nice about talking about it. To make sure that you communicate in a time when they are more able to listen, when it works for them, not just barging into the office and say, hey, I demand to speak. Make requests, not demands, because when you make requests, the person is part of the decision, whereas when you make demands, it might lead them to be a little bit more defensive and less responsive. Allow space for distractibility, because that is part of the person's day, that is part of the person's journey with ADHD. So allow space for distractibility, which means that you're going to take your time as well. Take your time, be clear, be direct, and of course, not lose your patience when they get distracted. And finally, build them up. Use that sandwich method when you have to give less than pleasant feedback. Make sure that you're encouraging and supportive, so that you leave the conversation with them feeling good about it and feeling in a way that makes them interested in going back and applying whatever it is that you just requested. As always, if you or someone you know happens to be going through something that's more than you can handle, please remember that there are professionals like myself who are available, able, and willing to help, and are even providing remote services who can assist with whatever you may have going on. So please figure out who those people are in your community so that if you need to, you can reach out and get the help that you need. And that is all we have for today. Good morning, world. Have an awesome day.